Good morning. It's so early at the moment. The lighting's still a little bit weird because it takes a while for for the sun to hit the windows, I guess. I wanted to talk about some books today. So I haven't done this sort of a wrap-up kind of video in a couple of years. So I'm a little rusty, but I wanted to start doing them again. So I'll be doing a wrap up of the last 3 months. I'm just gonna call it the summer wrap up because it's technically been summer here in Australia. Summer didn't really feel like it started until the massive heat wave we had on Christmas Day in December. I'm just gonna count January, February and March as the summer months because the seasons have been a little bit delayed these days anyway. So I read a total of 11 books within the past 3 months, and yeah, let's just sort of talk about them. So the first book that I picked up, I actually listened to on audio, and that is the very popular memoir Wilde by Cheryl. I think the reason I picked this up was because I like reading non-fiction or like memoirs in the beginning of the year. I don't know why. It's just a really good way for me to start the year. And I decided to pick this up because I knew it was all about hiking and camping, and I was in a really stressful state at the beginning of the year. So I wanted something that would make me feel relaxed and calm and things like that. So I decided to pick it up. I don't know what to say about memoirs because it's like you can't really criticize someone's life. Anyway, moving on. The other thing that I did notice about my reading for the past 3 months is I've been reading a lot of romance. So the next one is a very popular romance, and it's by an author that I tried previously and didn't enjoy, and something that I've been wanting to focus on this year is to pick up books from either authors that I tried and didn't enjoy and want to give a second chance, or from authors that I know I liked one of their books, I just haven't picked up any of their other ones for whatever reason. So I picked up Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I do have a physical copy actually. This book is about it's about a character, Nora. She feels like she's cursed with relationships. She lives in New York City and she loves her job. I think she's a literary agent, and there's this like really popular book that she sort of worked on that her and her sister absolutely love, and it's set in this small town. So what they do is they sort of wanted to visit this town just to get away from the city a little bit, and then, you know, obviously it's a romance, so there is a heavy enemies to lovers romance in this, and I for the most part really enjoyed it, especially after going from Beach Read and not enjoying that by Emily Henry. But again, like looking back now, I think the reason why I didn't really enjoy Beach Read is because I like the romance just fine in that book, but the external plot deals with something that, a topic that I don't particularly love to read about. So I think that's like a it's me, I'm the problem, it's me kind of situation, not really the book. This one I enjoyed. It's still not like a favorite or anything, but this one made me like her writing. I also thought that the romance was really sweet. I liked that the main character was a little bit different to what I'm used to, and when it comes to the ending, I have this really conflicting thought about the ending. I won't spoil anything, but I wasn't really satisfied with the ending, but I understand why it had to end that way. But yeah, overall very satisfied with this. Sorry if this video is a bit rambly. I haven't done this kind of video in a while. Anyway, the next 2 books that I read is part of a series, and I do have a physical copy of them, but they're under the bed. I read the Princess Diaries book 1 and book 2 by Meg Cabot. For the most part, I really enjoyed the first 2. I think I enjoyed the first one the most. Just like with the movies, I loved the first one the most. But yeah, I really like that Meg Cabot was able to capture what like a teenage 15-year-old girl's mind would go to, like, because it's written in diary entries, so I felt like that was really true to like a teenage girl. And I also really like that we get a lot more of the side characters in the books, especially Michael. We get a lot more Michael in the books than in the movie, which I really like. Moving on, I read, what did I read after those 2 books? I read The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. Again, this is another popular YA romance, very beloved. I think they turned it into a TV show or a movie. I don't know. I don't have Netflix, so I don't watch anything that people watch. But this is about a girl named Belly, which I thought was really cute. And every summer since she could remember, she's been going to this beach house that is owned by her mum's friend. So her and her mum and her brother stay with this other family in this beach house, and they spend the summer there. And she like loves that, like she loves that summertime in that beach house, mostly because she has a really big crush on one of the brothers that have, like, the sons of the mum's friend. And yeah, I did a whole reading vlog on this, so I won't say too much. I'll leave the link to it down below if you want to know my thoughts on it. I think it is full of spoilers though, so I'll keep it concise. I really enjoyed this book. I tried really hard to go into this with an open mind, because I think I mentioned in that reading vlog that I've been struggling a lot with contemporary romances, especially YA romances. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm like a lot older and I don't connect with the romances that teenagers are having. But I went into this with a very open mind. I was trying to not be super judgy, and I think it worked out for me. I think I really enjoyed this one. I really like, even though I don't really like the romance at all, because I don't like any of the boys, but I really like Belly as a character. I think she's really interesting, and she feels true to her age, if that makes sense. I think she's supposed to be 16, and I felt like Jenny Han wrote that really well. The next book I read is another popular romance, but it's a lot less lighthearted, and that book is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. I really didn't like this one. I don't know what else to say. I really didn't like it. I pushed through. I was about to DNF it, but I was like, no, I have to push through. So I did. The book is about this girl who takes up a job as a carer for a quadriplegic young man, and I felt like the messages in the book was a bit questionable. And when I say that it felt questionable, I understand why the ending had to be the way it ended, because it fits with the story and it definitely fits with the characters and who they are and the decisions that they've made from the very beginning. I think my issue is that it felt like this book was trying to say that this is the only way things could end. And I didn't, and that just sort of left a bad taste in my mouth, because a lot of the times when I read books, you know, especially fiction books, you know, like I'm not sitting there thinking this is what the author thinks, like blah blah blah, because, you know, the author is obviously trying to tell a story, and even if they don't agree with some of the decisions that are made within the story, it makes a great story, you know, it makes sense. So a lot of the times when a character does something dumb, for example, in a story, like when they let's say, for example, like when they like cheat on their partner in a story or something, or when they kill someone in a story or something, like I understand that that's not like the author being like it's okay to cheat or something like that, but then there are certain books that I read and it makes me, and I don't understand how to really explain this, but it makes me wonder like if this is the author's beliefs and stuff like that. Does that make sense? Anyway, I don't want to go too into it because otherwise I'll spoil everything, but yeah, that was me before you. I didn't quite enjoy it. So the next 3 books that I read are all by the same author, and this is when I discovered that I really enjoyed historical romance. So I read The Duchess Deal by Tessa first. This was my first ever historical romance, and I absolutely loved it. If you want to know my spoilery thoughts on this, I did do a reading vlog, so I'll leave the link to that down below. But this is about a girl named Emma. She is a seamstress. In the beginning of the story, she is trying to go to this duke's home because she was actually the seamstress for this duke's wife to be. So she was making the future duchess's wedding dress. However, the both of them called off the wedding, and she actually didn't get paid, even though like because the future duchess didn't want the dress anymore, basically. So she didn't get paid for her work, but she already worked on the dress, like she already finished it. So she wants to go, she's been trying to get in contact with that lady who was with the duke, but she can't get a hold of her. So she decides to go to the duke's home to ask to be paid, basically. Makes sense, she's already made, you know, the gown. And then she goes there and she wants money, and the duke actually is wanting an heir because he feels like he needs to get married and like have an heir. And it's so they make a deal. It's called the Duchess Deal. They make a deal. The deal is that I can sort of give you security if you give me an heir. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I really love Tessa Day's writing style. I've heard of Tessa Day for so long. Never wanted to pick her up because I was scared I wouldn't like historical romance. I was definitely wrong because I absolutely love this. I love the characters. I think what I liked about this is that the tension between the two characters, because it's kind of an enemies to lovers. People say that it's like Beauty and the Beast retelling, because the Duke is actually someone who was injured in war, and he's sort of disfigured. Like I think it's described as like he has like half of his face and some of his shoulder and half of his arm and stuff is like burnt or something. Like he has, anyway. Yeah, I think the thing I really like about this is because the deal is for them to have an heir, they obviously have to sleep together. So the tension isn't through, like, it's not sexual tension. Well, it is. It's a little bit of sexual tension, but it's mostly like emotional, sweet, romantic tension, which, yeah, I love this book so much. I highly recommend this book if you want to start with a good historical romance. Like, if you're interested in the genre and you've never read any before, definitely start with Tessa Dare. Any of her books I've heard are great, but definitely start with this one because love. And then the next one I read by her is in the same series, but I actually read it in out of order. And I read the third book in the series, which is the Wallflower Wager. Now, with historical romances, I've noticed that even though something says that it's a series, it's sort of like a companion series where you don't necessarily need to read the other books because it doesn't follow the same characters. So I read this one, and this one follows one of Emma's friends. So they all follow Emma's friends basically in this series. So this one follows one of her friends who is very she's very much like an animal lover. Like, she loves animals. She's also a vegan in the Regency era, so she's like trying to make all these like vegan foods and stuff, which is really funny. This one follows the trope of, I don't know if you would call it enemies to lovers as well. It's enemies to lovers, but it's a little bit different. Anyway, we follow our main character, Penny. She is a, what is she? She's called Lady Penelope. So she's got some money, some rank of some sort. I don't understand the ranks, but so she's sort of like happy living on her own, being a spinster, you know. Like, she's like, I'm probably, you know, if it doesn't happen, that's fine because I have money, so I don't care. But a new neighbor moves in next door who is trying to sort of fix up the house so that he can sell it. He's kind of like a Regency era like house flipping person, and they get off on a really weird start. I will say that out of the 3 books that I read by Tessa Dare so far, the first chapter of this one is probably my favorite. This isn't my favorite book, it's still The Duchess Deal by her, but I really like the first chapter in this book. I thought it was really funny and really fun. Anyway, so yeah, so they get off on a weird start, and then Penelope is sort of told by her family that she needs to be more serious about becoming a lady and stuff, because otherwise she'll have to like go live with her brother and like actually be a full-on spinster who lives in the family home and things like that. But she's like, well, I can't do that because like, I don't want to do that. I want to live on my own with my animals. Like, she has all these animals in her house, and so her auntie is like, oh, well, you need to be serious, you need to grow up, you need to be serious, and you need to get rid of all these weird animals that you have, because she takes in like stray animals and like animals that are hurt and stuff, and she sort of nurses them back to health. She's really sweet. So that happens, and then the neighbor hears about like her needing to get rid of the animals, otherwise she has to leave, and he's like, no, 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 you can't leave because I am trying to sell this house next door to yours, and the selling point is that these normal folk can live next to a spinster lady. So he tries to help her get rid of the animals, and then there's a romance. Yeah, I didn't love the romance. Like, I love the two characters together. Like, I really like, I think his name is Gabe. I really like the hero in this, and I really like the heroine, and I love their dynamic together. I just didn't love the romance quite as much as the Duchess deal. So, but yeah, it's still a great book. And then the third one that I read is the second book in her series, and it follows another one of Emma's friends called Alexandra. And she is, oh, the book is called The Governess Game. She is someone who works with clocks. She's a bit of a nerd. She loves like constellations and like stars and telescopes, and she also has this thing where she can like fix people's clocks for them, make sure that it's the right time and stuff. And she goes into the hero's, who is a duke, I think, a duke to be, I think. She goes into his place wanting to sort of like offer her services of the clock making thing, but she was mistaken for the new governess because our hero has 2 orphaned wards, I think that's what they're called, and he can't sort of take care of them, so he's like, they need a governess because they're kind of rowdy and a little bit weird. And she was mistaken for it, and then things happen. I will say I didn't love this one as much. I didn't like the characters. I don't like that like nerdy girl frat boy sort of romance. I didn't like, what's his name? Chase? I think his name is Chase. I didn't like him at all. I thought he was really annoying. The next romance I actually listened to on audio. The book that I read is Roomies by Christina Lauren. So this sort of goes along with that, like I said, with Emily Henry. Like, I want to try authors that I already know, and I want to try more of their books, because for whatever reason I like read a book and I really love it, and it's from an author that I've never read before, but then I never pick up anything else from that author. Christina Lauren isn't one of them, because I've read a couple of books by them, because if you didn't know, Christina Lauren is a pen name for 2 authors. So I have been having a hard time with Christina Lauren for some reason. I really loved, I think the first book I read by them was The Unhoneymooners, and I love that one. And then I read Josh and Hazel's Guide to Dating, I think that's what it's called, and I really like that one as well. But then I tried a lot of their newer stuff and I didn't love it so much. I also tried their more smutty romances. Didn't love those ones either. And Roomies, I really didn't like. I thought I was going to really enjoy it because I knew that the male character was Irish, and I am a sucker for an Irish accent. But also I thought I was gonna like it because I discovered from the Duchess deal that I really like that marriage of convenience trope. So it's about a girl who lives in New York, and she she doesn't really need to take the train or the subway, as you Americans call it, but she does go to the train station a lot, to creep on this busker that's always there on like a Monday or something, like to the point where she's like slightly stalkerish. Anyway, so then they sort of, things happen and they sort of make this deal of like, we should get married so that you can get a green card. So yeah, they have this marriage of convenience, and it's weird. I feel like marriage of convenience works in like Regency era, or like, you know, like the historical romance setting. I feel like marriage of convenience really works in that setting, because back then obviously like women couldn't really do anything else but get married and have kids, you know, so it makes sense for that era. For like the modern day, I just felt like it was a little bit over the top. Like I felt like they could have figured out something else. I felt like it was too easy, like the book made it too easy justifying her stalkerish behavior. So yeah, I didn't quite enjoy that. And then the last book that I only finished a couple of days ago actually, I do have a physical copy, but I lent it to my friend Michaela because I know that she might enjoy it. And that book is called Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Faeries by Heather Fawcett. Yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed this. This is my first venture into that sort of cozy fantasy that everyone's been talking about. I've been wanting to read Legends and Lattes for the longest time, but I'm a bit scared because it's so hyped that I'm like, what if I don't enjoy it? So I picked this one instead because I saw it at Target. I think I got it from Target. This is about, it's set I think in like the 1800s or something, and it's about our main character, what's her name? Emily. Our main character, Emily, who is a scholar. So she's kind of a researcher, and she has been researching fairies like pretty much all her adult life. And in this world, fairies do exist and people do know about them, but people don't know that much about them because they're sort of not, they don't show themselves as often, you know. So she goes to this little village near Norway, and it's winter time and there's a lot of snow and dead trees, and she's staying in a cozy cabin with fire and stuff, and the villages are all really nice. So it's a very, very cozy winter vibe. Yeah, so she is trying to write about these specific fairy folk subtype, I guess. They're called the hidden ones. So she has to sort of stay here for a couple of months, and it's just a really sweet sort of low stakes kind of story. I mean, there are stakes. It does get a little bit intense in it, but like the adventure-y parts, but for the most part I thought it was really cozy. There is a romance in it, and I got really mad at the romance because it felt like, so I think it's my fault again. It's like a, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me. Because I read a lot of romances, that when I read a fantasy book, which I don't do very often, I look forward to the romance subplot. But because the romance subplot is a subplot, I don't get as much as I would like. And that's definitely what happened in this book, because I really like the characters together. But the romance, it's like there, but it's barely there. Which is fine. If you're not into romance, you might enjoy this a little bit more than me. But yeah, for the most part, I think what I really enjoyed about this book is the feel of it. I've never been one to be that fussed about atmosphere and stuff, like world building and atmosphere. I don't really pay too much attention to those because I do read a lot of contemporaries, but this one felt so nice. I love the cold. I'm excited for Australia to go into its autumn winter seasons, and this definitely gave me that like cozy, snowy mountains, dead trees, log cabins vibe, you know, like I love it. And the other thing that I really like about this is I love the way the author wrote about the fairies. For the most part, like the folklore of the fairies felt really cool. Yeah, so those were the 11 books that I read in the past 3 months. The other thing that I thought I would do during these wrap-ups is I would sort of talk about the goals that I made at the start of the year and kind of keep tabs on them. So one of my goals is to read a classic a season. I definitely didn't do that unless you count Wilde as being a classic, but I don't think I want to do that, so I haven't completed this goal. And then the next goal that I wrote down was to read 4 memoirs, so that's definitely a tick. I've read 1 out of 4. And then after that I wrote read on my Kindle more. I think I counted, and I think I read 3 books on my Kindle, which is decent, you know. I've been really enjoying my Kindle at the moment, so yeah, I think that's going well. And then the last the third goal that I wrote was to read more from authors I enjoy, and I definitely did that because I read a Christina Lauren book. Even though I didn't like the book, I enjoy Christina Lauren, so I thought. But yeah, so I read her, and I also read Tessa Dare because I read 3 of Tessa Dare's books. And then the last goal I wrote was to explore more authors who write poetry. Now I have been doing this, but I haven't finished. So I actually have let me see if I can find it. I have Lena Norm's poetry collection, and so if I had finished this, I could have said that I've done that, but I haven't finished this because I am enjoying it a lot. I really like Lena Norm's videos, and I really like her poetry so far, so I kind of want to take my time with it, you know. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, I think that's everything for this wrap up. Let me know if you enjoy any of the books that I've talked about. Let me know if you enjoy this format, if you want me to shorten it in any sort of way. Yeah, let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll see you in another video soon.